Do you feel like competitive Warzone has an entitlement problem?
People think that if you grind the game 16 hours a day and don't go outside, you deserve a spot in like a tournament. It's not how that works.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into a... Oh, no. You cursed me.
Keep that in, Lamberto. Keep that in. Keep that in. We're keeping that. We're keeping that.
Reset.
We're keeping that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into a brand new episode of the Bot Lobby Podcast. Couldn't be more excited to be here with you today, not only with the wonderful Katie Bedford, as always, but also another amazing guest. And I gotta say, Katie, I love our new kind of thread of the way we do this podcast, where it's just like, hey, every episode, why don't we just bring in like the coolest guests ever? We've had people from all across kind of the Warzone scene, talking about the competitive scene, talking about new maps. Today, we get to tell a little bit of a story. We have brought a very special guest today to talk about her story, everything that she's been through in terms of Warzone, where she came from. Without further ado, Katie, we've got to bring in the one and only, the incredible, winning just about every tournament she gets her hands on, Kenz Rosie. Kenz, let's bring you in. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining us.
What's good? I'm good. Thank you for having me, for sure.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. I know we've said it about a million times off camera, but I want to reiterate as well to everyone in chat, we always hear your suggestions, and overwhelmingly what you guys were telling us was to get Kenz on, and for so many good reasons. So thank you guys for that, and Kenz as well. Thank you for coming on. I think this is going to be a really, really great episode.
For sure, for sure.
Well, we do something at the very beginning. We've started doing something at the very beginning of every single one of these episodes. These are called rapid fire questions. Sounds intimidating. It's not that bad. Basically, just give us your first response to these questions that come into your head. Even if later you're like, that's probably not right. It'll just be a good way to kind of like break the ice and get started. So the first one, very easy. Who is your favorite person to compete with or just stream with in general?
Almxnd.
Yeah, okay. That checks out.
I was thinking, hey, rapid fire question, rapid fire answer. All right, favorite streaming moment?
Probably back in Verdansk when I won the Boom TV 25K qualifier with Alb. That was like a lit moment.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
I like it. I like it.
I was gonna say there are some more recent tournament wins, but that's a throwback. That's a good one. Okay, favorite meta of all time?
FFAR and AUG.
Oh yeah, wow.
This is our second FFAR we got.
Yes, but the AUG meta was crazy. That was when it like two bursted people. Oh my gosh.
The AUG, that's such an interesting answer. Okay, this can't be the same as the one you just said. Favorite competitive moment?
When I won the Ultra tourney, the 25K with Ben.
Yeah, I don't think you dropped.
It's not all these on deck.
I don't think you dropped the map that tournament, if I remember.
It was just
completely dominant.
Yeah.
Yep, 100%. Okay, least favorite duo to compete against?
I'd probably say Destroy and Chrissy as a co-ed.
Yeah.
They're like annoying to play. I don't know, and I have to try so hard against them every single time.
What about it is annoying, if you don't mind? Is there something specific about their playstyle that's irritating?
I think they're just both so like dominant. Like, I mean, not to be like blunt, but like usually someone like on the team like lacks, but like they're both so like dominant and just both drop consistent numbers, and that's like hard to play against at times.
Yeah,
that's a great answer. All right, I think we've got Gojj. What, two more?
Yes.
All right, your favorite Warzone competitive format?
2v2.
2v2, that checks out. You've won thousands of those. All right, last question. This one, not as fun. What was the hardest loss that you can remember, or worst loss that you can remember that just like hurt the most?
Oof. Probably when me and Trey lost the finals, like the 150, I think 100, I don't know, like the finals, the Boom TV one. That was tough. Got first round by Joe, actually. Fuck Joe. Like, that was an L, and there was no loser, so it was just out.
Yeah, Katie and I were casting that event. We remember that vividly. That was actually one of the last, larger events that we've had in a while, and you guys made a run, and then unfortunate loss there was it. That one's gotta hurt, I'm sure. So totally understand that. Well, thanks for answering those. As we kind of go into this, one of the reasons we wanted to have you on was not only because every single person in the world was like, hey, we've got to have Kenz on the podcast, but also we wanted to hear it as well, like a little bit of your story. So wanted to kind of like back all the way way up to like when you first started gaming, what was like the first Call of Duty that you got into, and kind of what got you into gaming in general?
So I started playing during Black Ops 2. I would just play pubs or like League player zombies. And then I started watching the Pro League. I'm not sure how I got into it, but it was just like good to watch. And then I would just like play casually like every year. And I would like play like game battles during like Black Ops 4, just like random stuff. I would always like stay like around, I guess. And then when COVID hit and then like Warzone came out like around the same time, I just like grinded that. And then I got into my first tournament with a Holly. It was an E-Fuse back in like October 2020. And then ever since then, I just like, I don't know, I just like started like showing out and just playing and just like loving Warzone.
What drew you into it specifically? Did you want to compete, or did you enjoy the environment of competitive? Because you're such a staple in it now, but kind of what started that itch for you?
Well, I've always been like really competitive with like sports and everything. So I think that just like led me into it, seeing like that there's actually like competitions with Warzone, and that's just like an itch to just like win everything.
What if I can ask, what sports did you play like growing up?
Soccer.
Okay, nice. I played. I think both of us played a little bit of soccer growing up as well, Katie, right?
Yeah, I was ass though. Oh my god, I can't say that. Okay, bleep it on the YouTube pod. I'm sorry, I was horrible though.
That's hilarious. Okay, so let's think back to early competitive Kenz, as you were kind of grinding, you know, getting your name out there, competing in some of these tournaments. You said your first event was with Holly, the E-Fuse event. What was the first event that you can remember that kind of hit that itch of like, oh, I think I can do this and I'm going to do this? Because obviously it's been a dominant performance recently over the last year or so, but kind of those early stages, was there like early success or early failures that kind of drove you forward?
There's definitely a lot of failures, because like when you're a female competing, like you can only well, not you can only, but like you only dominate like the female tourney co-eds. So that was like you can compete, but you're not going to get really far in like the regular 2v2s. So I think you know, it was just like, I'm not going to go full-time competing because like I don't know if like I can do it, whatever. But when I won that 25K with Alb, it was like the reassurance I needed, you know?
Yeah.
Right. That you know that you can do it and you can take that first place. Was it? So you mentioned that first tournament was with Holly. And Holly is incredibly welcoming. Did you find it hard to kind of get your initial foot in the door of people taking a chance on you for competitive, or no?
A little bit. I think that like if you're like a nobody or like no one knows you, you can't really be like expected to just like get a spot somewhere and like play. I think you have to like be able to network in like every aspect and have a connection. And like, I mean, Jerky was that connection, like Josh, like Jerky, and like he knew me and he just like put a good word in to Holly. So I think like that's what I needed. And she was like really welcoming, and everyone was so welcoming. And then when I got in, it was just like up from there, you know?
Yeah, that's super interesting. You know, it's so funny. I think a lot of our different competitors that we've had on the podcast or not have said something similar. It's like, hey, you know, somebody took a chance on me. You know, I had a connection that gave me a contact that let me, you know, perform. And then I was able to do enough to then continue that grind. So super interesting to kind of look back on. Let's go back a little bit and talk about like obstacles in general. I know you had mentioned one. You had talked about, you know, being a woman in the space. What does that look like? And we don't have to go down a long train on that unless you would like to, but I wanted to specifically mention, like, what was the biggest obstacle that you've overcome? Was it the overall competitive environment and where it currently is situated, or was it more of a how do I network to get where I want to be?
I definitely think it's how to network to get to where I want to be, because like obviously like I have the skill, whatever, but like getting spots in like tournaments and like constant spots and just like getting spots on like good teams, because you can get a spot in the tournament, but if your team sucks, like you're gonna get like last, and you're like, you know, like what can you do with that? So I think like networking for sure is the most important thing in Warzone.
And you know, Gojj, we have it, and networking within life is one of the most important things you can have. Kenz, I love that you're saying this, because when we ask these similar questions, we usually get things about talent or skill level or whatever. No one has ever really specifically talked about the networking aspect of it, reaching out to people, creating those kind of one-to-one bonds with them so that they know you and they want to trust to pick you up when you go into these tournaments. So I think I love that you keep bringing up networking, because it is really so crucial. And a lot of the people that you can see on Twitter who chirp about, we should get a shot, well, they don't really consider that aspect of it at all, or how important it is. So I love to hear that. What obstacles are you still currently working through? What do you feel like is still something that's in your way that you're trying to get through?
Shit. I mean, I don't know. I don't really have any obstacles anymore. It's just like me versus myself type thing, like just show up and compete now.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I like that. I mean, I think the self-reflection is a real thing too, right? Because oftentimes in Warzone, it can feel like, and this will lead into the next question, it can feel like people tend to blame everything except themselves. It's we're not doing VOD reviews. We're not taking the time to see how we maybe made a misplay, how we could get better as individuals. So going off of that and kind of what you just said, just yourself, improving on yourself, and that is the final obstacle that you're continually improving on. Do you feel like competitive Warzone has an entitlement problem?
Yeah, for sure. even myself, like I can be entitled. I mean, I lose a co-ed with Ben and I'm like blaming him. I'm like this is your fault. Like you're the reason we lost. Like I just like, people just don't tend to like see themselves as like a problem, I guess, or like, I don't know, but there's definitely an entitlement problem in like asking for spots, expecting spots. I mean, people think that if you grind the game 16 hours a day and don't go outside, you deserve a spot in like a tournament. It's not how that works. There's definitely an entitlement problem for sure.
Yeah, so when we talk about kind of networking as like a key piece to getting spots, which is certainly not something that a lot of people want to hear when you're a Warzone competitor or somebody that does grind for 16 hours, like you want that to be representative of whether or not you get spots. I mean, talk to me about like what are the best ways right now? Like if you were restarting your entire career right now, same skills and everything you currently have, what would you do in order to get a spot in the next big tournament?
Content. Play with whoever, whenever you can. Content, make TikToks, make YouTube videos, stream whenever, and branch out, because you play with the same 3 people every day. You're not gonna get far with that. Just gotta network and like just make content.
Is that ever hard to juggle hurt feelings that can inevitably happen when you have your kind of core group of people, but when you talk about branching out, playing with new people, has that ever been an issue for you, or have you ever seen that kind of be an issue of people branching out and kind of not always playing with exactly the same few people over and over?
Yeah, because it's like the personal aspect of like, yeah, like I'm your friend, so there's like a personal relationship there, but then it's like, well, I'm doing this as a business thing, and people don't really understand like the business and personal thing, and just like bridge gap between it. But there doesn't need to be like a bridge gap. It just needs to understand that like this is my job, and I can't play with you every day type thing.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, right? Like I get that sometimes when you're climbing toward the top, you can't always stay in your comfort zone. And I want to follow that up with something else that I think for me personally is something I'm very curious about. How do you feel about the overall health of female competition and female competitors in the competitive Warzone space?
I definitely think there are a lot of females that can like ride with the big dogs, I guess you could say. But like, I mean, what what aspect do you mean? Like, can they like hang? Like, do they not get spots? Like,
kind of all of the above. Yeah, I mean, in what you just said, very much so. Do you think underrepresented, more opportunities? Do you want to see more co-eds? Do you not want to see more co-eds? Kind of just in general, both. You can talk about it if you want from things that you think are problems within the female community, if you choose to, but also just in general, how you feel like the state of women in Warzone is.
I definitely think that there could be like bigger like female tournaments or co-eds, but I do think that some of the females are entitled when it comes to like expecting spots in tournaments, and they don't really like work for it, including myself. Like I could definitely do a lot more for spots and just in general, but I do think there's a lot of entitlement because it's like, oh well, I'm a female, so like there needs to be more female representation. But like at the end of the day, the big Warzone tournaments are for the best players, and I don't think like I don't think that just because you're a female, you do a spot. I do think that they are trying to get more representation in tournaments and in the community. There definitely could be more, but it should go to who deserves it for sure, and not just because you're a woman, you know?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I know a lot of people share that sentiment, but it has been an interesting conversation to see the timeline chirp about every once in a while. It kind of comes up and then goes away and then comes up again, just like most different issues or things that people talk about on Twitter. That's how the Twitter goes. So I want to move forward. I know you had mentioned that Almxnd's your favorite person to play with from a competitive side. Fair enough, right? I mean, you two have won so many events together. That Toronto event was one of my favorite to watch. I mean, you didn't even drop a map. It was crazy. Talk to me a little bit about how you kind of found, or Almxnd or he found you in terms of like the co-ed scene, because I think BENZ is what some people have been saying. Like where did that start? Like, what was the kind of like initiation of that?
Okay, so at the time I was co-ed duos with Trey, which is Colors. And I had like dropped him because I was like, whatever. And then I was like being petty because we kept losing, so I dropped them. So I needed a co-ed duo. And Brittany, who's my best friend and female duo, is obviously with Tom. And Tom is Ben's like duo. So like Brittany was like messaging Ben like, hey, like, you know, Kenz is so good, like just play with her. And he just kept like dubbing it. He was like flaking and dodging for like months. He'd like refuse to play with me. And then one day we played a wager and I like just like went off, and then he like picked me up after that for like the co-eds and stuff. And then like there was an E-Fuse tourney. It was a Sadie Hawkins back in Ensk, and I 1v2'd him in Queen Shadows. Well, Queen Shadows, no offense. And then after that he was like, I'm gonna pick her up. And then yeah, ever since then we just started playing together for like a year, I think. I don't know.
How hard do you that I love that, because you basically had to go shit on a kid to get him to realize like you're that good, you know? Kenz, is it hard to find a duo that you can stick with, and once you found that duo, not let any potential losses snowball into you guys breaking up?
Yes, for 100%. I'm just the type of person that if one thing goes wrong, I'm just like, fuck this, I'm done. And it's like if we go on like a losing streak or anything, I'm just like, something needs to change. Like I'm over it. Like no, but I don't know. It's just like you just gotta like keep with it and just keep working, because like obviously it's RNG. It's a game of luck at the end of the day. So like you just gotta stay with it. And I think that if you have something, you just can't like let it go. In terms of like a co-ed, like if it's, or like a duo at all, like if it's working at one point, it'll work no matter like how much work you put in.
Yeah, I would definitely say no matter how good you are, whether you're Almxnd, who's won the most money in Warzone, and since Caldera, Tommy, who's won the most money in Warzone, period, or what have you, it doesn't mean you win every time, right? So like even when you do, exactly. you know, either make some mistakes on the map or things don't go your way because there is some luck to it, like you can't get too down bad. But speaking of not down bad, I mean, you guys have won so many events together. Anytime there's a co-ed, you're in the conversation. You're probably top of the list for anyone trying to throw some side bets on it. Like there's really no question on that at this point. And so what was the catalyst for that success? I mean, why do you think you two work together the best? Are you just kind of both that good? Or is there something about the pair and the way you all play together in 2v2s that makes you so successful?
I think I'm just like, I mean, I could be like gassing it a little bit, but like I'm just like, I'll do whatever he says in game. Like if he's like push that, I'll do it. Like I'm not like hard-headed or stubborn in game. Like I just will let him just ride the boat, like drive the boat. I'll just ride the boat. Like if he calls it, I do it. And it's not like he's like superior, but like he just like knows what to do, and I'm just like there for it. Yeah, I mean, I take his criticism. He sort of takes mine over, but like I don't know. It's just like teamwork and like chemistry, I guess, just works really well.
And that we know how important that chem can be, right, Gojj? I mean, it can really, every once in a while we see players who have not played together in duos usually come out on top and kind of upset those teams that have the chem. But when it comes to chemistry specifically, Kenz, for something like a 2v2, which you've said is your favorite format, how much of a tangible role does chemistry play in a duo's success in these tournaments?
It plays probably the biggest part. I mean, gun skill's one thing, but if you don't have chemistry, it's over. Because like there are times when me and Ben have a tournament and like I'm not vibing with him that day, it's just like chalk it up and we lose immediately. like if we're not in like a good state, because obviously like friends argue, duos argue, like if you have to be around like someone a lot, argument's gonna happen. And if like we're not on like good terms, we get double first round. Like it's bad. So chemistry is a huge part. Just like listening and just being a good teammate and a good person just is huge.
Yeah, man, it's so good to hear because so you know, Katie and I are casting all these 2v2 events that we get to watch you play, and we only get to hear bits and pieces of comms and things like that, and there's only obviously so much that we can you know, talk about, but what we do talk about a lot is how big of a role chemistry plays in 2v2s. Like most people think about this fact that hey, we play, you know, chemistry is everything in customs because you're playing against the best of the best, and when you're just slaying out pubs, like sometimes you'll be watching Smit and Aiden, for instance, and they won't say a single word together, like to each other for like the first 15 minutes of a game. But it is a lot of the like nonverbal chemistry that you've already put in the time to know what they're gonna go do, and you say a couple words here and there, and seemingly is your case as well with Almxnd. So you know, pretty cool to see how much chemistry you all have. And honestly, I think one of the reasons for that is exactly what you said. Like, you don't have an ego in game, and that means you all are successful. Anytime these duos like come together and the egos clash and they don't listen to one another, they try to think, oh, although I might have, I have an idea of what we should do, this person is telling me to do the other thing. If I just follow their advice, usually in the past it's worked out. So if I continue to follow that advice, it'll probably work out in the future. A great mentality to have. And the fact that you're both so incredibly good. So let's talk about that duo that gives you so much trouble. We talked about them already. I was expecting to hear a modicum of different answers, and I want to go back to that duo that gives you trouble. When you're playing with Almxnd, you're playing a co-ed tournament, and you come up against that duo. Are we saying that's Chrissy's duo? Is that the duo that gives you guys the most trouble time and time again?
Yeah, for sure.
So talk to me a little bit about that matchup. Like, going into that matchup, is there something that you think about that is different? Is it like, hey, they're a high slaying out team if they're on, we got to change up our playstyle?
I don't think we have to change up our playstyle, but like, I mean, obviously, like every single game, we always go peak. That's just like the hot drop for everyone. We just have to make sure we just like win peak, get our kills at peak, and then go off from there. Because if one of us dies at peak, it's like it just sucks, and it's just like bad off rep to like die and just have a bad start. So like, I think I just make sure that like I just make no mistakes at peak.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, Katie, I think this is actually the perfect transition to our next topic, which is talking about Caldera in particular. You know, we talk about it all the time with the different POIs and peak being obviously the hottest drop. But talk to me a little bit about the map, because you've obviously found a ton of success on Caldera in particular, and I think that there's a lot of reasons for that, and I'm sure you can name as well. But I think experience and a lot of time in will certainly cater to that, right? Like you're going to have more wins if you play more and get better at the game. But Caldera in particular, you found a ton of success. Do you like the map? If you do, tell me a little bit about what you think about the map and why maybe you're successful on it.
At first I hated the map. It's horrible. but now I genuinely love the map. I mean, I'm not a big fan of like the jungle like type like grass like tree theme, but I do like the map. I think when they added balloons, it just was a W. I think that the map is really big, so like balloons just really help like bridge the gap between like rotations. I think that the POIs are also good. Like the new update, there's like a lot of POIs now. I think Storage Town was a W. There's a lot of people that go storage, so that's like really good. Beachhead, favorite map, like favorite part on the map for sure. It's just the best. I think that any place with like a lot of buildings is just great, since like Verdansk as well. I don't know, the map is just really good. I mean, I don't really like the elevation part where like peaks on like a hill, but overall the map is just great. Activision did a really good job with like all the updates for sure.
Have you found, because there was recently, correct me if I'm wrong, there was recently that update with removing some of the foliage, right?
The what?
Did you with the
the visibility?
Yes. Did you find, because I know a concern a lot of people have had was that visibility was more difficult on Caldera. I don't know if that's something you ever experienced yourself, but with kind of that reduction in foliage, trying to improve it, did you notice any improvements recently with that change?
I did notice, because before I thought I was going blind trying to see people on the map, but now everything's fine. I can see people just fine without the way. So like, it was definitely a W.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up a lot about the drop spots and some of your favorite spots. You hit all of those, which is really cool. Talk to me a little bit about Beachhead. Why Beachhead? Why is that one of your favorite spots?
Honestly, I know, like, from like a competitive standpoint, there's a heli, so that means like bots are gonna go for it at the big bunker. So like go kill them, whatever. And then they have like a bunch of like little bunkers and then like random like just like houses, and I don't know, it's just like a big like bot spot, so it just like works like really well for me. And then it's like a good rotation spot as well.
Interesting.
I like the rotation specifically because I think not a lot of casual players think about that aspect of the game, right? There's layers. The better you are at a game, the more concepts, nuances, micro decisions that you make that other people just don't even consider. And I love that answer as well about the rotations, right? And how pivotal that is going to be in how you play out the rest of a map. But we know about Caldera. We've had Caldera for a while now. And you've said a lot of things you like about it, but when we look forward toward something like Warzone 2, I say it's around the corner. It's a little ways away, but still rapidly approaching, especially with how fast this year seems to be going by. So is there anything you'd like to see in the next maps? Have something that's included in the next map that Caldera doesn't have currently?
Shit, I would like to say Verdansk, but but like, if it could be more like a city type of thing, that would be really cool. Like, I like the way they had like downtown, and then they had like
you like downtown? Hold up, you like downtown?
I did. I did. And then like I don't even know the spot that it was called. It was between hangars and like airfield, between like trains. So it was like the big like houses and just like everything.
Yep.
And I don't know, I'm just like a big like fan of like houses and like stairs and like fighting and like buildings. I don't know. It's like more a city and then like a smaller map. Because in Verdansk, you could rotate from downtown to Storage Town in like 30 seconds. Now it's like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So you're a big fan of like the building fights, right? So you're trying to have like pretty close quarters combat. You're not trying to beam somebody at 300 meters plus. You're like, hey, I'm going to outplay you. There is a lot of outplay potential in buildings, to be fair. So it makes sense that kind of like is a skill gap, to be totally clear.
I mean, I think that like in Caldera, you could get shot from top peak and like be able to do nothing. Like it's just so easy for casual to like snipe you from like across the map. And there's nothing you could do. Like, if you're caught in a field, there's nothing you could do about it. Like, literally nothing, unless you're like God. But on Verdansk, you could like be in a building and someone shoots at you, just like finesse it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a good point. There's a lot of people that are fantastic at finessing buildings, and you're certainly on that list. We've seen you do it a plenty of times, so that's super interesting. All right, well, this has been a hotly debated topic between a number of the different guests that we've had on here. So before we move on to the next topic of conversation, let's talk about a ranked mode potentially coming to Warzone. Yes, no, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? We've had people, big hitters on both sides of the equation. Wanted to hear your opinion.
I mean, I don't really see a need for it. I mean, ranked mode would basically be like customs, to be honest. There's just like no point. If there was like a ranked mode, then just play customs. But I don't know. I don't really see a point for it. I don't know.
That's so interesting. It wouldn't be so you find no interest, or at least maybe you think it wouldn't provide an incentive for people to want to play more, or maybe bring more people back into playing Warzone.
Maybe, but like I feel like all the people that have left have been like casuals who like, because it's like too sweaty, not because it's like not sweaty enough, you know? So I feel like ranked would just help like the competitors and not casuals. And the problem is there's not enough casuals playing.
Honestly, great take. I like that take a lot.
Yeah, so did I.
It's been funny because we've asked that question and kind of expected originally when asking this question, because Twitter, timelines are always, what I would say conducive of the truth. Not really. There was always these conversations around the idea of, hey, rank mode has to come. This is a necessary kind of thing that we need for Warzone so that there's something to grind. And but every person we've had on the podcast has had a different reason why, or a different reason why not. I mean, Joe said something actually pretty similar to what you said, and said Warzone doesn't make a lot of sense for a ranked mode because of the skill gap that we currently have. And then what you said was perfect. Like, we are missing the casual scene. Would casuals want a ranked mode? Probably not, because it might be too sweaty. That's great point. Kenz, you are 5-head. Holy cow. Katie, take the next one.
Okay, so and again, I gotta echo Gojj. Getting dissenting. We're gonna have to do a piece at some point, Gojj, of kind of all the competitive players who are like yes on ranked versus no on ranked, and kind of what all the reasoning was for it. Because it's been really interesting to see how kind of divided people have been. But let's move on to something that's really fun. Gojj and I love speculating about this. We love talking about this, and the timeline eats it up all day long. Let's talk about orgs, the convo around orgs. So recently, Super Evan hit us with the Giga Ultra bait and re-signed with XSET. We have teased multiple times on the podcast. We'll do so again that we know for a fact one of the competitive players, well known, has signed to an org. Another is attempting to be courted, and it seems like initially with Warzone there was a big influx, right, of all these people getting snapped up left and right, and now we're at a point where things cooled down a little bit, maybe picking up again depending on what we're seeing. But you come up very often as one of those people that you start to scratch your head and you say, why hasn't Kenz been picked up? And you see that with a few of these players who are consistently getting into the money, consistently some of the best in the business, creating that good content. They are a presence and a staple in the scene. So what do you feel about org representation in general right now? Do you think they should be picking up more, not enough? How do you feel about the state of players who have orgs and ones who do not yet?
I definitely think there's a lack of representation. I think that a lot of the people that have been picked up since like early Verdansk, whatever, I think that there's like a new influx of people. I mean, obviously, like those people like deserve to be on their org, like good for you, whatever. But I think that like there should definitely be like more people on orgs now. I mean, Warzone's been out for like 2 years and they haven't picked up anyone since like Unrational, so definitely more people on orgs.
Yeah, you know, it is a fun conversation. We have a lot of those conversations behind the scenes. Katie and I are always kind of conjecturing on who will get picked up by who. I mean, you did represent in the CDLR Surge, which looked like it was a blast. But talk to us a little bit about the CDLR working with Surge, if at all, or was it as simple as, hey, we need a team, Kenz, you know, pick your team?
So, like, I know the general manager, which is, like, Brandon from Seattle. So, like, he hit me up. He was like, hey, like, you're the first person I thought of for this. Can you just, like, represent us? I was like, yeah, I'm down. And then that was just, like, it. I don't know.
Wow.
We've seen you've repped their camos before, right? Before that happened?
I'm, like, their biggest fan. I was literally
there we go. I was gonna say, because I feel like I remember so often, and I didn't know if it was like a subtle tease to us that we were picking up on. There, like maybe something's happening there, but
that's what I wish it was, but no.
Have you? So if you had to have kind of your choice, if you will, would it then be Seattle Surge?
No.
Wait, give us a top 3. Can you give us a top 3? Is that a thing that we could do?
Yeah, what? I mean, she could say no, but yes, top 3.
Top 3. In CDL, yeah. Okay, so Optic, New York, and Rocker.
Can I ask, like, why? Why those? Is it just the culture behind the teams, or the people they already have on the team? Like, what's the reasoning on that?
Definitely the culture. Like, obviously, I'm a big fan of Surge, but like, you got to see like what they're doing for Warzone compared to other orgs and like what other orgs have to offer. And I could be the biggest fan of Surge, but like, if I'm not getting what I like want, and you know, and like I'm looking at the other orgs I just mentioned, and they're just doing everything right. And yeah, for sure.
Have you been having any conversations with anyone in any capacity?
Yeah, on org.
Write it down. Clip this. This is what we're clipping. Put this everywhere.
Yes,
spread it across the world. There are conversations happening now. Okay, this isn't this isn't mind breaking. You haven't leaked anything insane. You know, most people that are the larger content creators and are really on a come up in a growth pattern have conversations. The question is it going to actually become a reality? So really excited for you. I'm not asking you to leak anything, but thank you for telling us that you are having those conversations.
No,
if you wanted to, feel free.
Gotcha. It's not one on my top 3 though.
Okay. Hey, that's intel.
That's all I'm giving you. That's all I'm giving you.
We'll take it.
Write it down. We're gonna be doing some conjecturing later. I'll be writing some stuff down. We're gonna figure this one out. No, that's really cool, Ken. So you talked about the culture. When you think about an org that you potentially will actually be representing, not could be in the future, best thing or biggest thing for you is, hey, what can you do for me as a content creator, or what are you doing for Warzone? Like, how do you prop me up? Like, what are the big things that you're thinking about when joining an org?
I definitely think the support, as in like, I don't know, like Rocker and New York, they host like tournaments whenever they can. It's just like really good for the community, and just like they just know exactly how to support their creators and competitors. And I don't know, it just seems like very homey vibes, you know? And that's
I
what
think
I expect.
It's basically saying, you know, they're invested and they show that they're invested.
Exactly.
And you want to be a part of something that is engaged in what you're passionate about. But when you look at an org then, and maybe this is also fitting the bill of the one that you've said that you're in talks with right now, but do you want an org that is going to support you primarily competitive? Do you want an org that wants you to be hyper engaged in their content aspect? What is your primary focus in kind of continuing on that conversation of benefits from an org if you joined?
I definitely think both. I mean, obviously, like, you can help competitively, but like I feel like I'm doing that like myself. Like, what more could you other than like host tournaments or like get you in tournaments? But I think content wise, like an org that has like a big fan base definitely could help you a lot, like content wise, and do IRL like content and just like videos and just like fun challenges and stuff. I think that's like much needed, and yeah, just like helped content.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, the kind of last topic that we wanted to have with you was, hey, what does the future of Kenz look like, right? And so this is the perfect transition, because recently, not only have you been still winning tournaments as per usual, but you've been streaming, you know, a lot, and you've been streaming with Facecam on, you've been making content. So talk to me a little bit about, what does the future of the brand of Kenz look like? Is it content? What's it going to be?
It's definitely going to be content, but it's also obviously competing. I went through like a long since Verdansk. I never did any content, just competitive. And I think that was like my biggest downfall. And I think that like ever since I like realized that, it's just like only going up. So I think focusing on content a lot until the next Warzone map, and then still doing content, is definitely a big plus. Playing with new people, branching out, networking, and just making content.
Is it hard to find content to create that feels authentic to you? I know that oftentimes Warzone can feel kind of very saturated in terms of the content people put out. So what has it been like getting into the groove of whether YouTube, TikTok, etc.?
I mean, it's really hard to get into a groove. It's like, you know, like you get on, you just want a game. It's not like you don't think like, oh, like I gotta make this, I'm gonna make this is a really good idea, like hits you, you know, so you're just vibing. But then as soon as you get into the groove, it's like really good. But I think my biggest thing is like getting into the groove. It was really hard to get into the content groove.
Yeah, and speaking of that groove, I mean, when we start talking about the content, for the casual listener that maybe doesn't, you know, really follow the esports scene as much as like we all do, or a part of it as we all are, when you speak of content, are you talking about you're going to start making a lot more long form YouTube videos? Is it TikTok? I mean, what type of style or content are you kind of targeting?
Definitely YouTube videos as well. I've started TikToks, but like, I do want to get into YouTube videos. Any like IRL stuff, like vlogs, whatever. Just like bridging the gap between streamer to viewer, like having like a personal, like, you know, relationship with them, like letting them know like the real Kenz, whatever. Because like I feel like the viewer definitely enjoys like knowing the streamer, you know?
Yeah. And I'm gonna hop in for a follow-up on that. That's a great point. I think one of the things that I've noticed about the overall Warzone scene is that you have some pure content creators that don't compete. They are rare, but they certainly exist. A lot of YouTubers, J God's a great example. He's not playing in tournaments. He makes incredible content online that helps people, right? And does a great job of that. And then oftentimes there's a hard shift to competitor, right? You've got the people that hardly make YouTube videos, hardly make TikToks, and they just grind tournaments. And they usually win a lot of those tournaments. Their content for their live streams is competing, right? And so for you, if you can do both, you'll be like the true dual threat that carries you into like the next stratosphere of kind of like household name. Because I think one of the things that we've noticed over the last year and a half of Warzone competition is that people are there for the Warzone competition, sure, but they don't really know the person. And if you can kind of combine that content even with IRL stuff, I mean, I think some really good examples of somebody that has done that in the past are like Hector maybe and Lucky. Like they used to be like all compete all the time. Now they do all of this different content with complexity or otherwise. Like super excited for you is the whole point of this conversation and kind of this follow-up is I'm just really excited to see where this goes. So speak to me really quick on in terms of like IRL stuff. Is it like, hey, this is what my daily life looks like, or are you looking to like kind of do vlogs for like travels and like what is some of that content kind of like built out going to look like?
Definitely both, like a day in the life, like what I do when I'm not gaming type of thing, like trips to like I don't know, like New York City, like just stuff like that, just like IRL stuff.
Super
like
cool.
Cooking.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I like that a lot, especially IRL, and you touched on it, right? One of the biggest things about Twitch is the more intimate nature of the relationship that you can have with your viewers and inviting them into your life. So I love that you're bringing up things like vlog content, because as we've seen, and I love that Gojj mentioned people like Hector, they have done that very successfully and shown that that is something that can get engagement and is not the stereotypical, world starred some kids, here's the TikTok type video. So exactly. I have a really interesting question, and I'm curious if your answer is going to change from what you said about ranked Warzone. When we look to the future, Warzone 2 and beyond, one of the, I don't want to say crisis, but one of the identity issues that it feels like Warzone is facing is content-based Warzone competition and pure competitive Warzone competition. So if we moved into Warzone 2 and they said, hey, we're going to try having a Warzone League, is that something you'd be interested in? Or do you prefer the format now where there's, modes and styles and, content creator versus competitor gameplay and also pure competitive? Or would something like a Warzone League interest you?
I definitely think a Warzone League would interest me because it's more like of a standard, I don't know how to explain it, like foundation, I guess, because the CDL has like events like this day, that day, and then like Boom TV or EFUs hosts like one event, like you never know when there's going to be an event, so I think the Warzone League would be really like good for Warzone.
Yeah, like the overall health of having a consistent schedule. I'd be curious to see what like viewership and things like that would look like for it, how it would actually be executed, what styles of formats. I mean, I would assume it's customs, but a lot up in the air. Good to hear that you're excited about that potentially. There's a lot of thoughts I have on that, and I'm excited for it potentially. But we see a couple of questions in the chat, and we've been seeing you guys here all day, so thank you for the support and the support of Kenz in particular. I will take this question because I actually quite like it. Can we ask Kenz, who, if any, streamer, content creator are you looking forward to working with in the future?
Pulse. He's my favorite streamer by far. He's just so funny. Love watching his streams. He's just a W. And he's like his authentic self. Like he doesn't care about anything or what anyone says. It's just he's just like a great guy.
I love that answer so much because he was one of my favorite people to meet at the Baka Bros Wonderland. They were all just so like childlike wonder and excitement over hosting a LAN and like being on the kind of casting side of it. So I know exactly the energy you're talking about. It was just wholesome and vibrant and super loud. So I'm sure we're going to see that. Yeah, Kenz, I'm sure we're going to see that sooner than later.
That is super cool. Well, Kenz, thanks for your time. I mean, that's really all the questions that we had. To finish this conversation off, I know you can't leak the org that you're talking to. I am going to be doing my digging. I am going to go through every thread. I'm going to do my advanced Twitter searches. I'm going to see what I can find out from behind the scenes. But in the meantime, is there anything we didn't ask you that you wanted to like talk about? I mean, you can be here as long as you'd like, but I don't want to take up, your time all day. Anything that we didn't ask that you wanted to talk about?
Not really. I mean, you guys like hit every bullet point for me.
Awesome. Well, hey,
super us, Gojj.
Yeah, we try. We try to keep it as complete as possible, but always want there to be a chance to talk about anything that you're super passionate about that we didn't hit. Well, Kenz, thank you for your time. Quickly, shout yourself out. Talk about all of your different socials. Talk about your Twitch, and then we'll finish with this final conversation question from Shanice to send you on your way. So shout out all your socials while you can, so that everybody can follow her, because you definitely need to. She's climbing up.
It's just Kenz Rosie on every social. Got the latest stream on Twitch, vibing, like having a concert. Follow me. What's like on live every day? What's up? That's it.
I love it. You're certainly live every day. You're playing this game a lot. Thank you for being here. The final question, and I think this is a perfect capstone to the overall conversation we've had all day today. Honestly, the entirety of the podcast in general, across all episodes, it's this idea of streaming, competitiveness, content. What does really Warzone even look like, and where is this success coming from? So Shanice's question was, would love to know what Kenz finds as the most difficult part of being consistent in streaming and competition. Where does she find the motivation to do what she does every day?
Competitive wise, it's just winning everything, just wanting to win everything. Content wise, it's wanting to have a community and have a personal like friendship with them, and just have like supporters,
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, passion, that's it. The passion is behind the scenes. The passion is what's driving her forward. Kids, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. I'm sure you're going to be live later today to compete in some crazy tournament that I didn't know was happening. I'll get a DM about it, and you're winning money. So, congrats to all of your success thus far. I'm sure you're going to be going even farther and further into the future.
Thank you guys for having me so much. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. We'll see you in the next one for sure.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye-bye. I love that. Gojj, she's fantastic. I know we've been wanting to get her on for a while, and not only did she have some unique answers on a few of the topics, but just well-spoken, articulate, and kind of one of the most front-facing women in the scene right now,
Oh, absolutely.
I think there's definitely, if you are someone who's up and coming, you want to be up and coming. She had some very important statements about networking and what it takes to get that initial invite, like the one she did from Holly. So if you're just tuning in now, we'll have the VOD on YouTube tomorrow, but a lot of really important kind of tips, tricks from her there, and insights. So thank you again to Kenz for coming on. That was great.
We've gotta, can we at least just have a very brief conversation? We're about to head into a really cool segment that we did last week. We're going to do it again. But before we get there, okay, she's talking with an org currently, Katie.
I know. I couldn't answer.
She said, I am in conversations with an org. We see all of the spam in chat for all those Kenz emotes. Please keep doing that. Who is she talking to? She said it's not on her top 3 list, so we can already.
New York, Optic, or Minnesota. It could be Seattle.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. She goes, like, is this a little bait and switch? She's like, I don't know if Surge is in my top 3 just because they don't have a lot of Warzone people. They don't have the culture yet. Is it like oh, just kidding, flip flop, patty wop? I don't know what that means. Like, I'm going to be the first one, or is it somebody she didn't mention at all because she's trying to stay away from the topic and not leak anything?
Well, I wonder, okay, in your question, did you specify CDL orgs?
No.
Or because it could be, there's also like the OMITs of the world, kind of like the XSETs of the world, some of those non-CDL entities, but that are very
NRG.
Present within Warzone. Yeah, NRG. There's actually quite a few options outside of what we would immediately think of when you talk about some of the Warzone orgs.
And when we said your top 3 favorite orgs right now to join, she said CDL orgs and then went forward. So there's maybe a little bit of something. Wait. She said the person that she wants to kind of like do content with in the future is Complexity. She said, or she didn't say Complexity. She said Repulse, but could be Complexity, not in the CDL. There are a lot of options. I see chat helped us out with that one. That is a great point. So my top 3 guesses are Complexity. I think XSET could be a real conversation, actually. I could see that kind of coming out of, not really out of nowhere. They have plenty of Warzone content creators. That kind of fits the bill for the community that she's already thinking about. You know, they've got Jared FPS, they've got Super Evan, they've got Frozone, they've got Burtonologist. They've already got that kind of built out. And Kenz would be a perfect option for that. And the other probably would be Surge, just because she's already worked with them, represented them, knows them apparently, knows one of the people behind the scenes quite well. Whew, that's crazy, Katie.
I know, and God, this makes me want to do some dating.
We have to.
I'm gonna be texting some folks. I'm gonna be texting some folks. Just know that we're gonna try and figure out what's going on there. But what I love about that is the broader implications of not just Kenz being in discussions with someone, not just the other people that we've teased that we know are in discussions or have already completed discussions, is that it went from that initial pickup period to a pretty significant lull to, it seems like, the beginnings of another pickup period, Gojj. I don't know if that's a reflection of things that orgs have heard based off of CDLR and what they plan on doing with that, if they plan on moving it to another season, expanding it out internationally beyond just NA. But it gets me excited, because usually when these orgs start showing interest in picking up people again, it's because they're getting whatever sort of signals they're getting behind the scenes that it's worth their while to be doing so.
Now, there's 2 options. Is certainly there's an impetus from maybe a Warzone League coming or something like that, or just maybe, hey, this is a rising streamer. Honestly, from a business perspective, we could probably get on the cheaper side. Warzone 2, they're going to explode. You know what I mean? Like that's another thing that a lot of these orgs are probably thinking about as well, in preparation for the potential that Warzone 2 is. It's a good bet. It's a kind of hedging your bets for the future that Warzone 2 is going to be good. Most people would expect it's going to bring back a lot of player bases. A lot of conversations to be had there. But my mind's always thinking the business side, Katie. That's how I'm doing deals.
I love it. It was such a great. She said that, and I was like, immediately went to our editors, like, maybe this is what we tease.
Yeah, right. But we have a very another amazing segment of the Kolosseum stat chat. We've got to go into this. This is a lot of fun. We love having these conversations. Let me pull these up, and I've already got them up on the screen. Amazing. If you guys didn't know, by the way, exclamation point sponsor, we are sponsored by Kolosseum. Really cool kind of daily Warzone fantasy site that puts together all of these different content creators onto their site, and you can build out your own fantasy teams, create your teams, win some money. Really sick. We're going to talk a little bit more about it in the kind of like end of this segment, but we've created this brand new segment with Kolosseum to talk about the stats that they actually do compile. You guys know at home, I run WarzoneEarnings.com. I am all about the stats. I'm all about kind of like keeping track of who's kind of on top, and Kolosseum's doing that weekly and daily for us, and of course for all of their online competition. So let's talk through some of these stats. Katie, you've got first and foremost, this is a wins board right here. Okay, look at this. You've got overall wins. This is within the last week, so this is within basically Wednesday to Wednesday. This is essentially since Fortune's Keep has dropped until now. You've got Faded Invaded with 130 wins, the most wins this whole week. You're winning a game 130 times in 7 days. That is actually insane.
No, that's ridiculous. And I know that there's some people who go specifically for wins in their playstyle that's going to be vastly different than people who are playing for like PRs or anything else. But 130 is outrageous.
Yeah, it's crazy. You've got the number of Caldera wins in a week, 72 from Wagnificent. That's like, do the math on that. That's 10 wins a day, little over 10 wins a day in 7 days. Absolutely obscene. Rebirth, which again, 7 Rebirth wins, impressive, because Rebirth was only out for like half of a day, I think, or something like that. But by the time they took these stats, because again, this is Wednesday to Wednesday, Lucci and Zydo is at the top of that. The Fortune's Keep is why they were able to achieve 130 wins. There's 125 of those were on Fortune's Keep. And then the average placement over the last week in every game that they've played combined, Z-Laner at the highest of that, 4th place overall, highest average placement. Pretty solid across the board. Certainly depends on how many games they played and things like that. Let's keep going through some of these stats, Katie. Next, this is a fun one. This is victory streaks, and well, wouldn't you know it, Faded invaded at the top of the Fortune's Keep streak. 22 wins in a row, by the way.
Do you remember? Okay, because that's so outrageous. Like, I remember, I think the best kills or the best win streak I ever got on Verdansk. I remember I was playing with Study and maybe Pomage and a couple. I can't remember. It was like 8 or like 7 or 8 wins or something, and we were all losing our shit. But I remember once upon a time back in Verdansk, and I think Pam was on this. Some people had some outrageously long win streak, like outrageously long, and everyone was losing their minds because in Verdansk, obviously, even if you played it careful, that wasn't an easy thing to do. So when I see win streaks like these, like an 18 at a shaded step on Caldera, or 22, like there's so much inherent RNG in these game modes. Crazy. And you still manage to win 22 times.
I mean, it makes sense. They've won 140 times in a week. They've got to have these insane streaks to even have that be a possible stat. But the Caldera win streak, not surprised to see shaded step, and FIFA Kill had the rebirth streak of 5 right before it went away, but I'm not surprised to see Shaded Step at 18 wins in Caldera. That's kind of what he does. So let's keep rocking and rolling through these top streamers. Now, these stats we're going to have to explain because some of these are daily, some of these are weekly. Rowley had the most headshots in one day. Total of 20, or in one game, sorry. A total of 20 in one game. Pretty impressive. Executions, this is a fun one. Frozone has had 20 executions this week. That man is grinding content on Warzone. Not only grinding the top of the leaderboards in terms of fantasy points, which we'll get to because he's been near the top every single time. He's also one of the most expensive players to pick up on Kolosseum's website when you're building your team because of that very reason. But has had 20 executions, so he's doing it with style. Gulag wins. Cleveland Cam, 122 Gulag wins this week. That means he's dying a decent bit, but winning most of those 1v1s, which is pretty impressive. On the other side, you got Gulag losses. Bonk. Bonk is a win streaker. Bonk is that guy that's out there getting tons of wins, but 142 losses in the Gulag in this week that one's gonna hurt, Katie.
Yeah, look. Sometimes you got some high highs, sometimes you got some low lows, and sometimes you get the distinct honor of setting records that no one might ever beat because they're so awful.
It also means you're playing a lot. So, you know what I mean? Like no one, like if you're playing like 5 games a day, there's no way you're hitting Gulag 142 times. But you know,
I mean, hey, I never lose a Gulag, so I wouldn't know what that feels like.
Yeah.
But I understand it's probably not the most positive experience.
And then 4NJ's had 20,000 damage in one game. It's the highest damage in one game that we've seen in this last week. So pretty impressive. I think we've got one more graphic to... No. We have 2 more graphics to show. We're going to go to the fantasy points next. This is the most kills this week. We know Super Evan actually set some of the world record last week. We were able to show that. Ooh. But the most kills this week were 51 in Caldera from Biffle, 47 from Faded, Invaded, the guy that's been winning Fortune's Keep all day, every day. If there's another Fortune's Keep party, get this dude on your team. That's insane. 47 kills.
Okay, this is, I was thinking about this as you were going through some of these Kolosseum stats, is Faded Invaded is coming up so consistently, and I want to see now when you see things like this, because you have a win stat, right? That doesn't really mean a lot when it comes to competitive, right? If you win a lot, that doesn't necessarily mean it translates into you being someone who would do well in competitive. But when you also see stats like that coupled with 47 kills, in Fortune's Keep when we saw Aiden putting up numbers similar to that. You then ask the question, okay, why isn't this person in tournaments? Are they not interested in tournaments? Are they maybe just not well known enough in the scene for people to be comfortable picking them up? Kind of like what Kenz talked about early on in that interview. Why isn't this person there? If you're dropping 47, clearly you got more than just a little bit of gun skill.
I think there's a $5,000 Fortune's Keep tournament coming up around the corner, so maybe we'll see them in it. But let's look at the fantasy points. Again, as we're looking at these points, let me remind you, this is kind of a sponsored segment with Kolosseum. If you don't know who Kolosseum is, you can look at it in the chat right now, ! Sponsor. You can build out your own Warzone fantasy team, and when they win, you win, basically. I mean, you have all the different stats that go into your overall formula for how well your team is doing, just like any other fantasy sports. What did you say?
I was gonna say, Lamb literally in chat was touting, I think he won last week.
Yeah, he won like 26 bucks. I think he got like third or fourth. Flowers, one of my mods, also won money. So he's going in there. He's gonna try to win a lot more because he built out the right team. And well, this is one of the teams that you could maybe start looking at. People like this are grinding the leaderboards, and that helps out your fantasy squad if you build it out. These by the way, these contests can go up to like $150 every single week that you can win a portion of, especially if you get first. You're winning a large majority of. Might as well win some money while you're watching Warzone competitors. But look at this, 822 points by Frozone, near the top again as per usual. Diaz Biffle near the top as per usual as well. These are the most expensive people to throw on your team, but they certainly get you the most points. 808 points, 738 from Bread. Bread's been popping off this week, not only in tournaments, his stream, but also on the fantasy points. 738. Husker's right behind 729. Metaphor at 725, and he was shadow banned this week. Impressive. And as per usual, always shadow banned. And then Faded Invaded, who has been on almost every single graphic thus far. 717 points with Fortune's Keep, wins, kills, and everything else in between. So very impressive. Make sure you're looking at these players when you're building out your squad. So thank you to Kolosseum for, of course, sponsoring this podcast, but also putting on all of these Warzone tournaments for the community. Go check them out right now. It's kind of time for you guys to get more from Warzone streaming. If you're watching Warzone streams all the time, you're listening to this podcast, this is made for you. Enter Kolosseum's free fantasy Warzone contest and win when your favorite streamer wins. Build your dream squad now at kolosseum.co. That is KOLOSSEUM.co, and you can actually use promo code BOTLOBBY, all caps, all one word, for a little bit of extra promo, a little bit of extra cash money when you make a new account. So go do that now, whether you're on audio, YouTube, or otherwise. Really excited that they are actually the reason we're able to continue to do this podcast, so thank you to them. Such a blast bringing you these stats every single day that we do the pod. All right,
I love them.
Katie, last topic of conversation. We've had a lot of combo today. It's been a long one and it's been a great one, but we've got time. Shitter's Digest is here, and for the probably first time ever, we have one tweet to talk about.
One tweet, but it's a banger.
Because it's a banger. So let's talk about it. It was in the chat earlier. Rafi, who is the actual owner of Omit, one of the teams that we know and love. They've got plenty of Warzone competitors and content creators under their name. What I would call like a mid-tier org. They do some great things and they're growing dramatically recently. I actually know Rafi really well, and occasionally he'll put out these style of tweets, Katie.
It's so great.
How about you read it out, and then we'll have a conversation around it.
Oh, I'm so happy that you're letting me do this. All right. It's 4:44 p.m., June 27th, 2022. Rafi says, you know what? I'm going to drop a banger, a spicy tweet on the TL. Sure. And here's what it said. Hilarious that comp COD is quite literally gamer nerds that got shit on all their life, now pretending to be the cool kids table of Twitch and Discord lunch table. Get a grip. You're good at a video game and very rarely make over an average American's income. And let's be clear, he's talking about competitive Warzone.
Yes.
He's not talking about multiplayer. He's not talking about CDL. He's talking about competitive Warzone. And I cried when you sent me this tweet, Gojj, because he's not wrong.
It's comedic. It's hilarious. Specifically, he said at the very beginning, hilarious that Comp Quad is quite literally gamer nerds that got shit on their whole life, now pretending to be the cool kids table of Twitch and Discord lunch table. So funny. Kind of true. And I think like when we start thinking about the entitlement question, Katie, that we had asked Kenz,
it just touched on that. Yeah,
it goes back to that. Networking is very difficult because people at the top feel like, and we've had these conversations too about this with some of the people at the top, of like, when you're at the top and everything's just killing it, you feel like people reaching out are wanting something. You know what I mean? Like there's this idea that they want something from you. They're not just trying to be your friend to be your friend.
Ladder climbing.
Yeah. So there's this idea of like, I fence myself off because I've made it and I don't want anybody in my inner circle. You always see those tweets. Oh, I protect my own. I protect the inner circle. And this is like the other side of that coin.
These are your best friends when you're popping, but when things get quiet, you know who the real ones are. Oh, yeah. We've seen the tweets.
This is the other side of that coin, which is essentially, wake up. What's the ego? You got, I mean, not that you got bullied your whole life necessarily, but like you weren't at the cool kids table not too long ago. You know what I mean? Like, don't have your head so far, where it doesn't need to be. Yeah. Okay, you'd say it. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, but like the point of it and the intention is very true, right? It feels like people can get a hint of success and kind of lose perspective, if you will. Lose perspective of where they were, lose perspective of what it was like when they didn't have that success, and sometimes treat people who are on the come up or just generally behave in a different manner because you finally got that taste, right? That taste of popping off, that taste of being popular. And it's so easy for it to go to your head. I have experienced this before, right? It's kind of insidious and subtle oftentimes, but the higher you climb, the farther you are away from where you came from, and the harder it is to remember what that was like. And
right.
I think for all of us, we'd be well off if we took a little more time to remember kind of the humble beginnings and what it was like when your chat was dead and you didn't have anyone in there and your subs were going down and not up. And when no one wanted to play with you, humbling ourselves a little bit wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think especially, if you're at the tippity top of the mountain, as the doctor says, that's one thing. Like, certainly you have to protect your own. Like, I get that. But his second paragraph of get a grip, you're good at a video game and very rarely make even over the average American's income. That is like actually a real conversation point to kind of close the podcast on, is like, even those that are doing well, like those that are doing well, like they've got great sub numbers, they've got great, content and everything. The money they're making that kind of provokes, for some, not all, definitely not all, but provokes this kind of like sense of an ego, right? Is the same amount of money you could make by, an entry-level job post-college. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's impressive, great, like you're doing fantastic, we're all here for you, but the ego to like completely just dismiss others because of that is like, okay, let's have a little bit of a wake-up call, you know what I mean? Like, we're hanging out at the Discord table maybe too long, but a funny tweet.
Wait. Can I pull out H-Maze?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
H-May had this killed me. Her response to Rafi, and this is the only one I want to point out because I loved it so much. She goes, I laugh so hard when someone has the biggest ego ever because they're good at the video game, have views, yet wouldn't act that way if they weren't behind the screen. Some boys for real think they're kings / famous as fuck IRL because they drop 40s on COD. And I just
the response to that too, they think they're Timothy Chalamet for winning a 25K gauntlet in 2020.
It's great, bro. It's great. I'm here for those tweets, and those are the kind of tweets we need for Shitters Digest because it gives us something to talk about, and we can have a more serious, nuanced conversation, but we can also laugh at it. Man. So keep popping off on Twitter. That's what we need. Maybe not me so much, but everyone else keep popping off on Twitter. Give us some Shitters Digest content.
Yeah, absolutely. Stir the pot if need be, as long as you do it in I would say respectful manner. If you do it in a non-respectful manner, it'll probably be better content. But I'm not here trying to instigate anything. Wink, wink, hint, hint. Anyways, look, I have had a blast on this episode. We've been able to talk about a lot of really cool stuff. You know, one more huge shout out to Kenz for being a part of the podcast. I know, you know, it's something that she's been wanting to do for a while. We haven't been able to make it work. We finally made it work. Great episode, great content, and honestly, evergreen content for those that are trying to make it in the Warzone scene. Definitely, this is one that you'll want to go back and listen to a couple times. Here are the things that she's saying, the reason she's kind of made it to where she's currently at, and you know, her mentality with going forward, because there's still a lot to be you know, left desired and things that she's going to be working on going forward in order to continue to grow. She's not content where she's at, although she is killing it right now. So huge shout out again to Kenz. Thank you for having her on the podcast. And Katie, thanks for setting that all up for us. That was fantastic.
Yeah, of course. A big shout out to Kenz, doing some really incredible things in the space. And also to all the competitive or folks in the scene who are in the chat all the time. Sean J is here all the time. Been in chat today. We saw Jowo earlier on. Rafi was here. We see Mazita a lot too. Just know, guys, we really, really appreciate the support and suggestions for who you want to see on, suggestions for people you want to talk about. I saw some folks asking about maybe trying to get Super Evan or Biffle on. Just know that we listen, we appreciate it, and we really, really, really love the support that you're showing.
Couldn't agree more. You guys have been amazing. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube. You know, go download the episodes on all of the major audio, you know, ways that you can listen to this podcast. We've reached over 1,000 downloads for our podcast on all of our audio platforms, which is really cool stat.
That's so great.
Been banging it out over there. It's kind of one of those like secret things that kind of just grinds on its own wheels. And shout out to our editors for putting that together. But the YouTube, you guys have been showing a lot of love as well. So please continue to do that. Like, comment, and watch the videos. But again, the live streams are always a blast. If you ever want to catch us live while we're doing this and be in the chat, sometimes we'll read even your questions out if they're pretty awesome. All you have to do is go over to twitch.tv/Grandmaster Gojj. And I think that's it. I think that's all we got, Katie. Shout yourself out. Where can people find you? Anything you're working on coming up that you can talk about?
Yeah, got maybe some exciting stuff toward the end of the month, hopefully with Fortnite. Cross your fingers, guys. Really excited about that. But outside of that, no, just doing my thing. Playing through Witcher 3 for the first time on stream, twitch.tv/Katie Bedford. It's really fun, although I just had a very traumatic quest line that I had to go through last night that I might never recover from. But yeah, just streaming, doing my thing, you know, just living the dream. But yeah, Twitter. .com/worldsbedford, twitch.tv/Katie Bedford. You can see them conveniently laid out right underneath our cameras. But seriously, you guys are rock stars, and every follow on YouTube is a smooch from Master Chief, my cat. And any reviews, any 5 stars you leave on the audio versions, just know I love you forever.
I couldn't agree more. I'm Grandmaster Gojj. Find me on all the socials. Got a lot of tournaments, got a lot of things cooking in the background. I'm sure you'll see Katie and I on a broadcast very soon, regardless of the title. We're always cooking and ready to rock and roll in the booth. So, hey, that's all we've got. Thank you so much for joining us. Twitter, I know people were filtering in and out on that. Twitch, you guys have been amazing this whole time. Audio listeners, thank you for everything, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.